Good morning, dear students. This is Mr. Abdurrahman again with the last part of this topic, the education decisions, part 3, regarding the business studies subject designated for the IGCC level. This topic will talk mainly about the, uh, the education decisions as factors, but toward retail and the retail businesses, we will first talk about how what is the factors that is affecting a retail business style. After that, we'll jump into the concept of going multinational business, and lastly, we'll summarize. We will conclude the topic, the location decisions topic, with the influence of a government, or how or what is the legal constraints or the legal control over the local decisions, location decisions. So let's start with our topic here, the retail. First, we'll talk about factors of retail businesses. There's many factors, and as we know, the retail as a business style or a business um, sector. It's as a business, it comes the same as a service field or the service business. It's considered as a service sector. It's not a manufacturing or a production in the physical form. And there's a lot. It has some special location factors that is different from the service, because we talked in the last topic about the service. Now the retail has different considerations. We'll talk about the first factor here, which is the shoppers themselves. The shoppers, the people, the customers, or we refer to them as the shoppers. This is the first factor. What do you need to know about the shoppers? First of all, most of the retailers, which is referring to the retail businesses, they will try to stick to the popular locations where there is malls and shopping centers and that kind of things. This is the first thing that you need to know. Retailers prefer to locate at popular sites of areas, between two brackets, malls or shopping centers. This is the first point that we need to talk about. And beside that, or that, why they're seeking that? Because it is more attractive, attractive for customers to visit these places. That's why it's considered as a choice by the retailers. If the customers, for example, the customers of high income uh, high income earners, the retailers would prefer to locate where these people lives or visit. Okay, uh, let's have an example that if customers of high income earners, I'm gonna revise it. If retailers selling expensive um, goods, that it is preferred to locate where high income customers may visit. This is the point that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the expensive goods. There is no point to locate in poor areas if you are selling an expensive goods. The same thing if you are selling something very simple. Let's say that you are selling the goods or small gifts, that kind of things. Most of the time it will attract the tourist, nothing else. So selling, for example, selling small gift goods attract selling uh, selling small gifts better located where there is tourists. This is the point of it. So as I said, shoppers is a factor of building a decision about the location of a retailer business. So these are the 2 points that we. This is the first factor. You can highlight it here. Number one, shoppers. Let's go up here and talk about factor number two, which is the concept of trying to open where there is nearby shops. Nearby shops. Why it's important to have nearby shops here? Because simple as that, guys. Let's say that you are a business selling, for an example, some kind of sweet. So imagine with me that you are located near a popular fast food outlet or near some kind of business that is grabbing a large number of population. There is a high chance that these customers that is visiting these other businesses nearby, they will step by to your stores and at least to check your products. So they are considered as possible customers for you. That's why it is a good idea. Locate near shops locating here shops. Example for that, fast food outlets means a lot of people will pass by. This is the first point that discussion. It's a logical point to describe why it's important. Uh, Besides that, guys, as I said, people may pass by and make a purchase, even make a purchase from your store, which is considered something beneficial to you. Also, imagine with me that you have stores nearby and they are selling the same thing that you are selling. You would say that, okay, Mr. Abdurrahman, they are competitors. How are you saying that this is good? I'm saying this is good because if the whole area is selling the same product or having the same specialty, it means that you will be a center for large population visits. Imagine with me that, for example, we have something in Libya, Madar Street. Madar Street, most of the people that is handling or trying to buy something related to their mobile phones, they will head there directly. There is a huge market share going to that area because that the competitors sitting near each other. So it's not something that bad. It could be very beneficial. Let's say this is what we can highlight. If competitors nearby selling same product as selling same type of goods you are selling Uh, as I said, this is will make this gives customers a variety, uh, uh, give them rich choices. That's why it's considered a good idea. I'm gonna split these points. So this is the other point that I needed to talk about regarding the nearby shops factor. Um, and as I said, it will increase the sales by following this way. There's a high chance that you will have better sale revenue due to that. Uh, and it will actually attract people to you more than if if located in area with no similar uh, product with a similar retailer is considered it will add some will attract less customers due to limited choices of purchase. This is what you need to know about this second factor. This is factor number 2. Factor number 2, the nearby shops. Let's jump to the third factor, which is you might say this is it sounds logical. The availability of parking space. Parking space in an area. This is factor number 3 for retail businesses. Parking availability. Let's say that you are selling something and the customers of your or the possible customers of your business cannot find a spot to park to visit you. So it will encourage them less to come for a visit. That's why it's considered a possible increase in sales if you can if you have this. So parking uh, uh, near areas, near shops. Consider it a factor to encourage customers or shoppers to visit. Two brackets increase of sales. This is the first point that I need to mention about the parking. So that's why it's considered beneficial or a factor, because sales will increase since there is an easy access to you, or they have the ability to visit you. If you don't have a parking space near your business, of course, people will say they will think that they will give up on the idea of parking. So to give a look, okay, this is the factor number 3. Number 3. Okay, let's go to number 4. Number 4 is the vacant premises. Talking about the availability of a place to start your business. The availability suitable vacant premises. This is the point. Say that you cannot find a suitable place to start to locate where with your retail business. Um, it will prevent you from initiate your business basically, because sometimes when we say that you cannot find a suitable place, you're talking about for example, being stationary in a place where the rent is very high or something like that. So if no vacant location or shop available, uh, business cannot cannot locate where it wishes. Basically, simple as that. Okay. When I say that available, it means that talking about the need that they find a place with a proper rent, for example. This is point number 4. We jump into point number 5 now. Number 5 is the concept of which is related to the previous point, the availability of a suitable vacant, the rent and the taxes. So factor number 5. Rent, tax, how they're affecting the retail business. Um, the more central the premises that you are seeking, it means that it will have a huge demand to rent from retailers, and since the demand to rent these areas, it means that these sites will be uh, expensive, more than other areas, so it has a higher pricing regarding their rental. And if it's a less popular area at the edge of the town, something like that, it has a less demand from the retailers and it will be lower. So to mention that, the more central site to locate, central site to locate as a retailer, the higher demand for them, and higher for them. Between two brackets, cost more to rent. This is the point that I need to mention. And the opposite to that, if these places considered low on demand, it will be if these locations at, for example, edge of town, they will be lower in rent. Simple as that. This is the point that we need to mention. It's about the idea that the more that location near the city or the center, it means that will be more expensive. This is the point number 5. Let's talk about the last 2 points. We'll talk about the access of delivery services. Point number 6 here. Access of delivery services or vehicles. talking about the idea that the business or the retailer uh, they should have an easy access for delivery vehicles that will deliver uh, to the final customer. If it's hard to reach you from these delivery vehicles, it will be less likely a good decision. So uh, might be a consideration. Sorry, might be a consideration for retailers to have an easy access to their premises. Otherwise, it will not be the transportation of the product will be impossible. That's why it's an important factor. This is point number 6. And the last factor regarding the retail businesses, factor number 7, the security. Oh, sorry, there's another one. Sorry, beside this, security. Number 7, security factor. What do we need to talk about security? Imagine that you are starting your business in an area with a very high crime rate. It means that there's a lot of theft is going to happen. It means that the business will making a bad decision to locate in that area. Why is that? Because most of the time, insurance or the insurance companies of insurance, they will refuse to provide insurance for businesses located in such areas because there's a high risk that it will be less profitable for them as insurance businesses. And the shopping areas that have some kind of mechanism to guard them, like patrol guards. Of course, it's more expensive, but nevertheless, it's more. It will be more preferred. So, security locating at high crime, high rate of crime. Prevent insurance companies from insuring a business. That's why it's considered a factor, an important factor regarding the retailers. And having patrolling guards can be expensive, but it is preferable in such cases. Even if you want to locate in a high crime or a high crime area, you can do that by as long as you're hiring some kind of guards. It's not considered as a bad idea. This is the factor number 7. The last factor here that I forgot to count, number 8, the legislations that is provided by the government. Legislations, just to put it very quickly, it's not a very big topic. It's not a very okay. Legislations. Legislation is talking about the idea of that in some countries have laws, and these laws are restricting uh, trading or marketing certain goods at certain areas. That's why you need to consider the legislations or the rules in any uh, uh, area before starting your retail business. This is the factor number 8. So, to summarize this or to look at it from a bigger perspective, this is talking about the factors that is affecting the retail business. We said number 1, the shoppers. Number 2, having nearby shops. Number 3, the availability of parking. And number 4, ability having a suitable vacant premises to locate at. Rent and taxation is number 5. The delivery or the access of delivery vehicles is number 6. Security is number 7 as a factor, and lastly, as we mentioned from a few minutes ago, the legislations regarding the rules of any economy or any country that is retailing business is locating at. This is the topic about the retail business. We still have 2 other points to mention here. We will mention them in a very quick way. We will have a new page and we talk about this topic. The location in different countries. We talk about the multinational or concept or locating in different countries. What do we need to know about this point or this concept? So after we talked about how to locate as a manufacturing business and as a service business, and also lastly about as a retail business, now we'll talk about the multinational concept or the transnational companies locating in different companies, talking about 2 things. Sometimes we refer to them as multinational or transnational. These kind of businesses are trying to locate in many areas, not just locally or a certain area. They will have their offices, their factories, or services located in different countries. Uh, they have offices, factories all around the world. This is the first world. This is the first point that you need to know about this kind of businesses or this style of a business. Beside that, most of the time these companies, these firms, they go multinational after a rapid growth due to the ability to locate in these countries that are considered as a newly industrializing countries. Uh, so the second point is that locate mostly at newly industrial countries like Brazil and these companies. Why they are doing that? Because as I said, it's increasing. It will lead to increasing the international trading for them, and also this is possible now due to improved the global communication. As you know, the internet making that possible now, but before that might be less easier, or you can say that it costs much. Another reason for that. Also, improvement regarding transportation methods. This is why these companies prefer to locate globally. Beside that, guys, another point to mention, they can these businesses they can consider to locate wherever they want at the world, create and instead of single country, they can all this referred to as globalization. If you heard this word in the news or anything, this is what it's referring to. Referring to the idea that looking at the business or looking at the world, the planet Earth or the globe as one country or one local area. This is the concept of globalization. Uh, Another thing to mention that most of the time when these countries or these businesses decide to locate in a different country, they prefer to locate from a developed country to a rapidly growing economy. So preferred to locate from developed countries to rapid growing economies. Why is that? Because these rapid growing economies, they have one of the factors, they pay less wages for the workers. These rapid growing economies, they give some kind of incentive for multinational companies to come in because they know that it will increase employment and that kind of things. Okay. There is a number of factors that is making the businesses. Let's talk about the factors of this type of businesses, multinational, why they think it's a good idea to go multinational or to locate in a different country. I'm gonna make this small and I'm gonna start drawing my arrows here. This is the first factor that we need to talk about. Let's talk about the factors now. These businesses. The first factor is new market overseas. Let's say that this company, a company, was stationed in Libya, and they discovered that like 30%, or you can say that 50% of their customers are from Italy or a nearby country. Logically, they will think about locating to where there is a huge portion of the customers because it's a good decision. So this is because of a steady increase in the sales overseas, and they will decide to locate in the market with such increase in sales. Rather than transporting the product, they will manufacture it there in the market where it's getting sold because it's more cost effective. So, due to steady sales increase abroad, relocating to where customers rather than transporting is more cost effective. This is the point that's highlighted here. It's more effective, it's more cost effective to make it there instead of transporting it to where your customers. Sometimes some businesses they prefer to stay. Let's talk about the service sector. Let's say that it's a multinational company and it's working. It's considered as a service business. They prefer to locate near the customer as an essential need because it will provide a better forecast growth or has more attractiveness for that. An uh, example for that, Starbucks. Starbucks is considered a service provider, and uh, uh, it's better to locate near customers. We took a case study about it for grade 9, and if you remember, so they want to be near the customers because it provides better forecast. We'll talk about forecast in another chapter of growth. So this is the point over here. This is the first factor, guys. Factor number 1, new market overseas available. That's why they consider to locate in a different country. There is more like 5 other factors. We'll talk about them step by step. The second factor of a company or a multinational business to locate in a different country. Number 2, the cheap resources or cheap raw materials or yeah, cheap raw materials. Of course, from our understanding to the factors of production, cheap raw materials means that less cost for the business and it's considered not a bad idea. Consider with me that you are in a country and this country is running out of the raw materials needed for your business. Of course, you need to locate or relocate where there is an alternative. You will move to a country that provide these um, depleted resources for you, especially the mineral sources like the oil and that kind of things. Most of the countries, most of the businesses will try to find where the oil is there, and they will start their business where the oil is extracted from, because it's cheaper to use these raw materials uh, rather than transport them to another country to process. So, raw materials may be depleted at current location and better find an alternative, which is another country. And as I said, regarding mineral resources, it is more cost effective to locate where these resources can be processed instead of transported to another country. This is the point mentioned here. And I give an example about that. I said the oil itself, oil or petrol, is considered a raw material that can apply to with this part. This is the factor number 2 for multinational companies. Let's talk about factor number 3. Which is the why sometimes the companies they will try to relocate from the human resource or the labor point of view. They have a problem with finding the needed labor for their production. So difficulties with labor force. As I say, sometimes they have a problem to find. We can say that cost effective regarding the wages, because if the wages keep rising in your current country, it means that the business will decide to go to a country where they can make it more profitable, paying less wages, getting over it, especially if they are global intensive business, to be able to reduce these wages. Many Western businesses, they will move their manufacturing plants into developing countries because the wages paid there are lower by stages. Example for that, Vietnam. Vietnam contained the majority of the textile production process for most of the Western world because the wages there is very low. And before that, we will highlight this point before talking to the another one. Wage cost, if kept rising, business will consider relocating where wages are lower. This is the point here, as I said. An example for that, we say that most of Western businesses relocated at relocated their manufacturing plants into developing countries. Example for that, Vietnam. For textile textile businesses or textile production. This is the point, second point here. And as I said, another factor that sometimes they need to relocate for another factor, they are seeking a certain or particular skilled type labors, and they need to relocate where there's availability for that. And to mention here, as I said, especially labor intensive business. As I said, if looking for skilled workers, better locate where they are available. It's not about wages only, maybe needing a certain type of workers. For example, most of technical computer businesses prefer to locate in India due to the fact that India has an availability of graduate from universities that is teaching the computer science or the IT related stuff, field. Enough talking about this factor, which is factor number 3. We jump to the other factor here. We'll talk about rent and taxation. Also, it's affecting the multinational companies. Rent tax. Uh, it's a consideration for global or multinational companies too, because they need to make more, especially if we're talking about the tax that is imposed over the profit or the personal income. It will prevent consumers from, selling as the business wants. So it might cause the business to relocate in countries where these rents and taxations are lower. Uh, Business may consider relocate where tax lower, income tax, profit tax. This is over here is more profitable. Very simple point. It's not that complex. Number four. This is factor number four. We talk about factor number five. Factor number five is talking about the government or the availability of incentives to go into a certain country. Availability of government incentives. As a business, if you find a government that is encourage multinational companies to come in, these companies will consider that, because these governments will try to encourage the foreign businesses to invest and create job opportunities. So they will grant lower taxations, and they might even give different incentives. Government will do this because it will provide jobs. Also, it will teach new skills for the population, and also it will import technology to the economy. So, to mention all that, Gov may encourage foreign businesses to locate in the sake of investment and creation of job opportunities. That's why they try to grab the attention of multinational. Also, as I said, doing that by granting low taxes, incentives, because they want provide jobs for population. Besides that, teaching new skills and bringing technology to the economy. That's why the government is doing that. This is the factor number five. And lastly, there is one more factor which is also related to the government: the trade and tariff barriers. Barriers. Number six, the concept of the trade barriers. Tariffs. Also, the government will go opposite to the previous point. They might put some trade barriers such as tariff or tax opposing goods or quotas because they want to, or by limiting a quantity, uh, because they try, most of the companies will stay away from such economies. They will go where there is less restriction because they want to invest. Example for that, the Japanese car companies like Toyota, most of them, they are located now in the Western or the European Union because they are working around uh, the taxation or the tariff imposed over the imported cars from Japan. So to highlight it here, uh, as I said, locating where no restriction from go is preferred for preferred. Example of that, Japanese car companies relocated at European Union to avoid quotas for imported cars. This is an example to explain this point. So this is point number 6. So these 6 factors that is affecting the decision about locating for multinational companies. So as I said, there's 6 factors. These factors is about the multinational companies. The factor number 1 is locating where there is an overseas market, or because there is cheaper raw materials in a different country, or the difficulty of finding the labor in your current location. Also, low rent and taxation values in a specific country is another reason for locating there. And the point before the last, the government incentives. Sometimes it's good to go to a certain country because the government is flexible. And the opposite to that, if there is so much trade barriers or tariff, you might consider to locate in a different country from where there is tight restrictions. The last point that I need to talk in this long session, sorry guys, but this topic is very heavy and I need to include it all because one thing left is we talk about the rule of legal control on location decisions. How the legal control is affecting any decisions made by any company. We're not talking about service or anything, we're talking about the location decision as a whole, how it is affected by the legal control. It's very important that you're making a profit for a firm. So managers, most of the time, they will locate where there is the possible area where there is less costly and the transportation is cheap and there's availability of customers and even workers. So the point is why the government want to, when we talk about legal control, we're talking about the government. Why they try to influence the location decisions. Mainly there is 2 points, guys, but before that, let's highlight what I've said. Decision by managers to locate depend on making more profit and available or cheap transportation Beside other factors, I'm gonna mention one thing, or uh, availability or availability of workers, etc. There's many points. I just mentioned a few of them just to explain it to you. There is two reasons why government want to influence a education decision, education decisions. The first factor, or the first reason why they want to put such influence, is to encourage the business to set up and expand and decrease the employment in that economy, which is considered as, especially if they are investing in areas where there is high unemployment rates. It's called development areas. The second reason for that is the second main reason for government to do that is to discourage firms from locating in overcrowded areas, because these considered as a high population areas and it's not suitable, mainly because to keep the natural beauty. So there's number one. To encourage setting up a business and expand in areas with high unemployment. These areas called developing areas. This is the first reason. Reason number two, the government want to do that, as I said, to to discourage businesses of locating at crowded areas because they contain some kind of natural beauty, for example. That's why they consider to do that. So these are the two main reasons that the government might seek to put some kind of influence over the decision or the location decision for a business. There is a set of measurement that is to achieve these two goals by government. They can do that with a set of ways. They can do these two reasons, or these two main reasons, with a set of measurements. Number one is the planning regulations. The government can achieve these two main goals by, number one, planning regulations, and the other thing by granting subsidies So these are the two things to measurements that government can try to do to influence where firms can locate. Regarding the planning regulation, as I said, they might restrict the activity for business in a certain area. Example of making some kind of factory where it's considered as a residential housing because they refuse to accept the permission to plan there, and it might be even it will be against the law to sit there to keep, as I said, beautiful areas or for uh, to keep it try to keep the waste of these protection these businesses away from the citizen. The only maybe exception is to allow businesses that is related to farming to locate there. So to highlight all that, gov will prevent businesses from locating at residential housing. It's a general rule applied all over the globe to prevent destruction of natural beauty with few exceptions. For farming businesses activity, for example, because farming is not that it's not harming for natural beauty or for the citizens of crowded areas. Uh, Beside that, this is the point number one. Number one, and this is the second measurement. It's granting subsidies. Government will grant subsidies for businesses to encourage them to invest, and as I said, to mainly to create job uh, opportunity. So they will locate most of the time and near the undeveloped parts of the country. This will assist. This assistance from the government can be financial grant, like non-repayable amount of money, and example for that, it might give raw rental for factories because the government will receive assistance in the shape of a very high unemployment rate will be reduced. It will grant the need of new jobs. So granting subsidies talking about locating in undeveloped areas to reduce high unemployment. This gov help may be a financial grant. It could be low rental for factory. It could be also a it might be non-repayable money as well. So all of these considered as some sort of subsidy that is granted by the government to encourage investing in these areas. Okay, so this is the last topic, or this is the last point regarding our discussion about education. We talked in the last part, as I said, about the role of legal control over education decisions. We said that the government will try to put some kind of influence to reach these two main points. They will plan that they will put these measurements to plan some kind of regulation, to grant subsidies, to mainly do two things: to encourage businesses to expand, to create job opportunity, or to discourage businesses to prevent environment destruction, or to prevent the harm that might reach the citizen. So this is it for this topic, guys. I want to thank you for viewing, thank you for watching, and I see you in another videos, inshallah.